All right, when thinking about the lessons that are in each of these grade level texts, I'm so excited about every single one of them. It is hard for me to choose one or two to share with you because I really am attached to all of them. One thing that I will tell you, no matter which lessons you choose to use, what you will find is that your students will be heavily engaged in conversation. You'll begin the lesson by sharing the text with students, right? Setting the context is the way that we begin, and then leading students in conversations about options they have as revisers. And then we move that to our students to have these same types of conversations with another piece of that same text, to again have conversations as partnerships or in small groups. And from there, we move our students onto their own writing to continue this work and apply these strategies in their own writing. So it's very much this gradual release model of teacher-led, student-led, and then student application. When I was modeling a lesson a few weeks ago, the teachers had told me during our debrief, I'm not giving my students enough time to talk during our writing time. We're writing, but we're never having these real authentic conversations. And I never really knew how to lead my students in these conversations either. But now with these lessons, I feel like we have something specific that we can talk about. And through these conversations, we learn that writers have options, right? And that there are a bunch of different ways that we could do things, but we really have to think about the meaning and effect behind them. So kind of think about that as I share some of my favorite lessons in each book. I've decided just to choose two for each book. So two of my favorite lessons in grade 3 are the very first one. 3.1 is the lesson. It is from this book. The model we use is Daryl's Dream by Daryl DMC McDaniels. And what we are doing with this lesson is that we are looking at repetitive information. Third graders tend to write with a lot of repetition. So we want them to discover the repetition that they have in their own writing. So we begin with a lesson using Daryl's Dream, where we actually insert some repetitive information and ask students to take it out, but we don't tell them what it is they're taking out. They discover that kind of on their own. We have conversations, and then we compare it to the actual text from Daryl's Dream to discover maybe how that piece was revised as well. And then they do that same thing with another part of the text with a partner, and then they go back to their own writing and discover where they may have some repetition that they could delete as well. So that is 3.1, one of my favorites. And then another one of my favorites in the third grade is lesson 3.6, and it is focusing on thinking about a logical progression of ideas. Again, we're looking at the paragraph level. We're thinking about a few sentences within a paragraph. How might we rearrange those to make it flow? Thinking about fluency as we read and this cohesiveness of the logical progression of these ideas. The other thing that I really love about this lesson is one, it uses Brittany Cooper's Stand Up, 10 Mighty Women Who Made a Change. And we actually focus on the piece about Mari Copney. And the publisher was so generous. They gave us permission to actually use the entire excerpt on this page with our students. And so here now we have a model of what an essay could possibly look like, right? So even though we're looking at a small piece during the lesson, we have an extension with this lesson to where we look at the piece as a whole, to have a whole new mentor when thinking about logically progressing in paragraphs. So those are two of my favorites from third grade. Now, what I will tell you is that every Patterns of Revision book has this beautiful chart in it that is color-coded, and it shares with you the lessons that are in the book, the mentor text that we use, and the focus within that strategy, like deleting for repetitive information, right? It also has any patterns of power connections there too. So those charts are on pages 18 through 20 in the books. So if you get your book, go ahead and bookmark that chart because I feel like you will be using that often. In fourth grade, two of my favorite lessons are 4.7. I did this one in a classroom just a couple of weeks ago. It uses The Leaf Detective by Heather Lang, How Margaret Lohman Uncovered Secrets in the Rainforest. a nice narrative nonfiction piece. And what I love about it is it does have a blend of informational text, like through its text features, and then also literary text. And so the students actually get to really discover the language that is used in narrative text versus informational text, right? Traditional informational text. So I get to have those conversations, but then also dive into the meaning and effect behind adding additional information to clarify and connect. And so that is one of my favorites in fourth grade. Another one of my favorites in fourth grade is 418. And this one is on sentence combining. And here we're combining with sentence description. So we're looking at word choice, right? And how we can combine using adjectives and prepositional phrases. And the book that we use here as our mentor or our model is Berry Song, which I absolutely love, by Michaela Godey. And so that becomes our mentor for word choice and descriptive language that our students can then turn around and look at their own writing and think about the word choice that they're using there too. And then fifth grade, two of my favorites in fifth grade is 5.9, which is also on adding. And this is adding in transitions, right? And not just time order transitions, but transitional sentences or in pieces that are really going to transition from one idea to the next. And the book that we use here is one of my very favorites, All 13, by Christina Soontornovat, The Incredible Cave Rescue of the Thai Boys Soccer Team. The book is extremely captivating. It's long. Of course, we wouldn't read the whole thing to our students. We would pull bits and pieces to share with our students, and we pull just a small chunk to use as our model. But we're really working on how we transition from one idea to the next in that lesson. And then one of my favorite combining lessons in grade 5 is 5.14, which is it's focusing on sentence combining and also this idea of forming new verbs by adding ing to one of our verbs to really turn it into a participle. Okay, but the book that we use here is A Seed in the Sun by Ida Salazar. And one thing that we want to have an understanding with our students is that we're not always going to form new verbs, right? So with this lesson, they may turn around and combine the ideas into a compound sentence. They may turn around and combine the ideas into a complex sentence. They may turn around and combine the ideas in a variety of different ways. And then we also feed them this idea that we can also form a new verb here and combine it with a comma and then an ing verb, giving them an avenue of exploration for other ways to combine sentences. So those are just 6 of my favorite lessons per resource that I think that you will enjoy doing with your students.